Hello and welcome to Dreams of Wings. Now, you may remember earlier last year we paid a visit, thanks to AuthentiKit, to the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight to take a look at the fantastic Spitfire Mark 9 simulator that they have there, that they've worked on in conjunction with AuthentiKit using the AuthentiKit controls. The BBMF use it for procedural training, for scouting out areas that they're going to be doing displays in, and also it's a PR tool that they can use so that the public can get a feel of what it's like to fly a simulator. And in this video we're looking at a specific piece of equipment, and it's the throttle quadrant, and we're going to build it. So grab a beverage, relax, and hopefully you'll find this interesting. I'm going to edit the video down, it won't be real time. And if you don't want to watch the build, you just want to get straight through to the flying part, then feel free to skip ahead. If I remember, I'll put some chapters down below. But hopefully you'll find it interesting. It gives you an idea of what goes into building one of these throttle quadrants. And we're starting off with the Hall sensors here. You don't have to have any specialist skills. Lord knows I certainly don't have any. And it has to be said, I really do recommend you watching the AuthentiKit videos. Phil puts together some fantastic tutorial videos, and that's how I'm building this. I'm not necessarily referring to the printed instructions that you can download for it. I'm actually watching his video because I find for me that's a much better way, having that kind of visual and auditory instructive thing going on. I find is just a lot easier to follow it. So just a quick recap on AuthentiKit. It's a freeware project, and what they're doing is creating flight controls for a wide range of aircraft. Initially, they're really just focusing on vintage warbirds, although recently they have produced a TPR system for the A2A Comanche. Just very quickly, there is Copilot Cat just popping in there. This is the only appearance of Copilot Cat in this video, but she does love having a check up on the engineering as it's going on. One of the things that amazes me about the way AuthentiKit works is, because I'm not a technical person, I said in the rudder and elevator trim wheel build, which I'll put a link to down below, I do not like building kits. I used to love it as a kid, but then I fell out of love with building things and putting things together. I am very much a lazy, buy it off the shelf, crack on and do it. So in a way, something like this you might think is quite kind of daunting, and but it's not. It's actually really simple, and as I say, the instructions that Phil gives are really quite cool. But the incredible thing is it's using 3D printed parts. Now you might say, well, I haven't got a 3D printer, so how am I meant to do it? I haven't got a 3D printer. I'm very lucky in that Phil and Simulation Kit Supplies have provided me with the bits and pieces to do this, but it's easy for you to do the same. You can buy the hardware, if you like, from Simulation Kit Supplies. You could source it yourself from Amazon if you wanted to, but Simulation Kit Supplies is a great source, and they've got these kind of kits. And also when it comes to the rudder combo assembly, as you may have seen in the previous video that I did, you can actually buy that as a completed kit, including the 3D printed parts. However, that's not the end of it. If you say, for example, you wanted the throttle quadrant, they don't sell a complete kit at the moment on Simulation Kit Supplies as of making this video, but you can go ahead and you can order the 3D printed parts through a network of friendly community members who will do it at mates rates, and they're kind of official printers with AuthentiKit, and it's a really good way of doing it. So you don't have to have a 3D printer to get the hold of these things. By the way, at the moment we're just building the bomb release button. It's the bomb release button that goes onto the throttle quadrant, the throttle lever of the throttle quadrant. And you can see the wiring is fairly simple. We're literally just taking the wires, using the ferrules, and then just pushing them down, pushing them onto the prong on the button there, and then seating it all down. And as you can see there, we're putting it onto the throttle handle. Again, it's all fairly simple. There's no soldering required or anything like that. If I can do it, trust me. anyone can do it. There's quite a bit of wire ducting in this as well. It's one of the things that with the trim combo, the wiring was fairly simple in terms of how it was ducting. The throttle quadrant by its nature is actually a little bit more complicated, and one of the incredible things you can see here, I'm feeding a wire, it's just a piece of craft wire, down the rubber tube, and using that as it's almost lassoed onto the insulated wires to pull them through that tube, because otherwise the insulated wires get stuck on the sides. There's too much friction and it's hard to put it through. And it's actually in Phil's video where he recommends that you use the craft wire. And I'd watched the video before and I thought, right, I haven't got craft wire, I'm going to have to figure something out. I opened that little kit box there and the craft wire was included in it. They really do think of everything to make the job easier. And hopefully, as you can see from this piece, threading those two wires through is an absolute piece of cake. And I can almost guarantee if I didn't have that and I was trying to do it another way, it would be a challenge to say the least. So here we are now looking at the back plate, and we're attaching the wee little box that all the wires are going to eventually come out into, where the wiring magic is going to happen, and where our RJ45 is all going to be connected up. Now we're putting some felt in. The felt is included in the hardware kit because it just eases off some of the friction. You don't get that kind of plastic on plastic kind of friction, and also the sound that you might get from it. So a lot of these different things are also thought through. And this is a mag haul that we're going to be wiring up here. Again, it's really simple, and it's just using the ferrules on the end of the wire and then threading that ferrule, I can never seem to say it, onto the kind of wire lug on the back of the mag haul, and then crimping it all down as we did before with the button. It is all incredibly simple, and I must admit, when I built the rudder and the elevator trim wheels, I thought this was going to be a really tough bit, because the ferrules are so tiny, so minuscule, and my fingers are so sausagey, that I thought it was going to be really difficult to do. But actually it's not. And once you've done the first couple, it really is a piece of cake after that, and very simple to put all these together. In terms of timing, how long does it take? It's hard to say because I had to keep stopping for various reasons. I also had to keep stopping to charge the phone that I was using to record this. But I guess if you could have a solid crack at it without any kind of interruptions, and you hadn't done it before, maybe you're looking at a couple of hours, something like that. I tend to be very cautious. I tend to keep checking and rechecking, making sure that, what's that old thing, measure twice, cut once, or something like that. I keep checking because what I don't want to do is screw it up, especially something like this. And you're not really going to know if it's all working until you've actually put it all together, and you don't want to be finding out at that point that things aren't working, because then potentially you've got to go back through it all and do some troubleshooting. So in essence, it is far better to get it right. So why do we use this stuff? Well, we all know why we use simulator controls. That's a fairly easy one to answer. I think one of the great things about using controls like this, especially if you're into warbirds, and because of the AuthentiKit system, meaning that you can have lots of different types of control. You're not limited to one warbird throttle quadrant. You can use the P51, for example. It means that you can custom fit your cockpit to whatever your needs are in the sim. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a huge amount of space. I fly on the same desk that I do my day job, so I'll never, certainly while I'm in my current house, never be able to have a full, complete cockpit. But the great thing is now I'll have the trim wheels, and also I'll have the throttle quadrant, which it adds to the immersion, and also it kind of adds to the control. I think definitely. I remember when I was up at the Battle of Britain Memorial flight and I had to go on the simulator there. That was the one and only time I'd use this quadrant. And I guess I was on there for about maybe quarter of an hour, 20 minutes. And I kind of felt like I had more control because I'm used to the Bravo throttle quadrant. I tell you what, it's a little bit like using the Virpil collective lever because it's a bigger thing and it's got more of a throw. You just feel like you've got a little bit more control of it. What I'm really interested to see is what it's going to be like flying formation, because obviously formation flying, you're doing a lot of throttle control. Just fitting the mixture lever there. That's what you're seeing going on there, and you can just see me adjusting the little screws at the bottom there. As I'm doing that, what I'm actually doing is adjusting the tension. So you can adjust the tension on the lever. So if you want a looser fit or you want it to be just a little bit tighter, then you've got the opportunity to do that. It's really good. It's little things like that are really quite clever. Almost as clever as my Duxford mug that I'm very proud of there. There we go. Get it down, you boy. It means that you can custom the controls to yourself. I think sometimes perhaps before I knew more about AuthentiKit, I kind of had this idea that it was this kind of home-built stuff and it would feel light and plasticky, and you just sort of moving bits of plastic around and it wouldn't have any weight to it. But because of the way these are put together, because if you saw me building the mag haul at the start, you would have seen that little cork stick that I put on. That's helping to give you some friction and to give you some feel. And one of the wonderful things that you'll see in a bit when I put the throttle lever in is that there's also a damper in there now, just to give you that extra realism of feel. Which makes a huge difference. I'm having to do a quick felt repair there, as you saw, because the felt strip isn't big enough to do the whole thing. So I was getting in there and putting some extra bits in. That is fitting the damper there for the throttle. And that, as I say, gives you a little bit of extra resistance. It's really is very clever. So when you actually have the controls mounted, I've done... spoiler alert, I did do a quick test of this once I built it, more so because I just wanted to check the wiring, but I ended up flying a couple of circuits in the Spit at Duxford, and the feel of the controls is absolutely great. And you can see again there, I'm just checking that the friction and everything is where I want it, and that it feels spot on. Wonderful to be able to customize it in that way. So while we are here having a chat, just very quickly to say, we do have a new Discord. It's not the same as the old Discord. The old Discord kind of turned into a big kind of general simulation Discord, and I couldn't keep on top of it all. This is a much smaller Discord, very much focusing on the channel rather than general sim bits and pieces, with a special section for warbirds, obviously, helicopters and general aviation. And they are to use the I guess it's a bit of a cliche now, you often see these in kind of business talks. They are my three pillars of the channel and also of the Discord. Warbirds obviously being the thing that really is for me at the heart of it. So come along and say hello. We will every now and again do a group flight. It certainly is not any kind of scheduled thing. It'll be as and when I can get around to organising one. So please don't expect it to be a every month or every 2 weeks or God forbid every week we do them. But certainly at some point it would be wonderful to get some group flights going and jump in the air. And especially doing some warbird flights. It really is a treat to fly formation and to fly. Some of the best group flights I've had have been warbirds. There's just something very special about looking out of the cockpit and seeing a bunch of Spits on the wing, or even a good selection of different warbirds. It's really is quite special. So as I say, come along, say hello, and look forward to seeing you there. So here, this is the mixture. This is the mixture. Sorry, I tell a lie. This is the prop lever mag haul that we're putting in here. So you can kind of see that we're building it in almost like sandwich layers, and we've attached the throttle to the other side of this this piece, and now we're attaching the prop here. So yeah, you can kind of see it coming together very nicely. I really would suggest, if you haven't ever had a look, go and have a look at the AuthentiKit website. It'll give you a good idea of what they're about, everything that they've got. They've got a really good Discord community as well. Some really, really very helpful people there as well. And Phil, who of course runs it all, incredibly helpful, nice guy. We'll come on to it towards the end, but to attach this to your desk, you're essentially using a type of monitor arm, and to have the rudder and elevator throttle trim combo and the throttle quadrant on it, you need to get an extension, and you can buy the extension pieces for them, but at the time they didn't have any on Amazon, and Phil very kindly printed off an extension for me, because that's the amazing thing about 3D printing. You can just print what you need as long as you can design it and you can make it in the plastic. Plastic is probably the wrong term. Maybe 3D printers would say actually it's not called plastic, it's called something else. But anyway, filament. Yeah, you can just print the extension off, and you'll see that right at the end. It really is very clever. So you can see a lot more. There's a lot of wire threading in this, ducting wire through different loops and holes and things like that. But it is really simple. I got to say, when I had a quick look at the instruction video beforehand, and I thought, wow, this potentially is going to be quite fiddly, and my limited patience is going to run out. But it wasn't. It was really very simple, and it's using the as Phil calls it, the kind of pull through method, where you get a couple of wires through one of those ducts. And then if you put another wire in, you can kind of drag it through by pulling on the other wires, and it's really very clever, very simple. It's just making life easier for yourself. And you can see now we've actually got what looks very much like a completed unit, and we're just really adding the final pieces. That wire, that tubing, remember, that's the wiring for the bomb release on the throttle. Incidentally, I've got that mapped to my gear because with the Bravo quadrant, obviously you've got a nice gear lever there, and I'm not using the Bravo when I'm using this, but I need a quick and easy way of deploying the gear, and that's where that button has come in very handy. Something I've also done, not very interesting for you, but I needed a quick way of deploying the flaps as well, because again there's no flap lever on the quadrant, so I've just mapped that to my Virpil collective. Here, by the way, you can see the white lettering on the right. That was done using polyfiller. Really simple. The kit comes with like silicon, and that's how I did the throttle. I keep saying the throttle. That's how I did the elevator and the rudder trims, and the silicon worked really well because the lettering was quite recessed. It was quite deep. On the throttle quadrant, it's not quite so deep, and when I came to take the silicon off, it made a heck of a job. And there is another method that they use using decorator's cork. I didn't have that. I had something pretty close, I think, which was polyfiller. Put the polyfiller on, and it's done the job nicely. So you saw just then before, just attaching the prop lever, and now we get down to the wiring. This is the brain surgery part of it. This was the bit where I was thinking, I better not get this wrong because it could be embarrassing. But again, it's very simple. You can see that wonderful wiring diagram there, which shows you exactly what to do. It shows you exactly what goes where in the RJ45. The RJ45 is really easy to use. You pop, if you've not done one before, you have your wire. You can see there, just twisting the wire. Pop that into the slot that you want it to clamp down in as per the wiring diagram, and then you push down the lid and that clamps it into place. There's teeth in there and it clamps it into place, and that holds the wire really firmly. It's such a great way of doing it, and People who do this all the time will be thinking, God, did he not know about those? I didn't, because I've never done it. But it really does work a treat. And you can see there now, everything's complete. All the wiring is done. And now I can just put the back panel on there. You could leave the back panel off if you wanted to do some testing first, but I kind of wanted to show the complete build as it was. So we're just putting the back panel on. We've done that. We're now putting that is a little slider panel that slides down onto the bracket that attaches to the monitor mount. That's how we fix it to that. And there you've got the completed unit. I hadn't done the white lettering yet, but it gives you an idea of what it looks like. This is the control box. Everything here has to be wired up as well. So that's got the trim combo in it already, and now we have added the throttle quadrant, and that's the top of the box. Gives you an idea of what you can get in there. This is the bracket system, so this is as it was before I put the extension in, but essentially that's all you need, plus the extension to get everything. And you can see there, that's how the trim was attached when I initially put that together. So here we are, parked up outside the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight Hangar in the FlyingIron Mark 9, and this is exactly the simulator Spitfire that the BBMF use as well. I'm using this rather lovely Dreams of Wings community repaint done by Sprawl. It's available on flightsim.to, and I'll put a link to it down below. It's a really nice repaint, and it's a privilege to have my own livery in the sim, as it were. Perfect aircraft for this. Of course, we're using Spitfire Mark 9 controls, so we wouldn't want to use any other, but obviously worth pointing out that you can use these controls with any single engine aircraft that has a propeller, a mixture lever and a throttle. Anyway, let's jump in and let's go flying. Well, what a fine morning it is here today at Coningsby. Perfect for test flying the Spit. Anyway, let's get cracking. So if I look down here at the quadrant, let me just angle my head a little bit better. So you can see if I move the throttle lever, we've got that full control there as well. I should say, you can't really see it in here, but there's an indent just in here. There's a little bearing. So we've got an indent or a detent, and then I can push it a little bit forward as well. Air screw control, there we go, nice and fluid and matching the physical lever, and the same with our mixture. Everything is tickety-boo, and if I move the, there we go, you can see that we've got the trimmers working as well. The trim wheel, in case you haven't seen the earlier video, the trim wheel, physical wheel that I have here, the movement doesn't match the one in the actual virtual cockpit. So I'm not looking at that when I want to change trim. I'm looking there at the instrument, which we should be doing anyway, if we are being the slightest bit professional about it and all that. Right, so let's get going. Let's close the door. There we go. I'll just leave it on the latch so that the canopy doesn't fly forward and all that good stuff. Let's have the fuel on, just double checking the parking brakes on again. Let's pump up the pressure. 1, 2, 3. Let's give it a couple more. There we go. And let's prime the engine. Actually, first of all, let's use our throttle quadrant, because that's what it's here for. So we are going to mixture fully rich. We are going to prop fully forward, and we're just going to crack the throttle there. So that's all good. And then back to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we will now have the mags on. And let's see if she behaves herself. Nice. Good start. Happy with that. Quick look down here, all pressure's good. There we go. Okay, so let's close those. Let's lock that. Let's have the fuel pump on, which is hidden by my camera, and let's have the pitot heat on. Everything else is good. Let's have a look at the temperatures. Temperatures are rising nicely. Temperatures are good for taxi. So without further ado, let's get going. Let's just remove the parking brake. There we go. Stick back. Oh, hello. There we go. Brakes are working. This camera really is right where I want to look. There we go, that's better. I'll just have to look out to this side. Yes, camera obstructing view. Not a very good look. Say hello to the Typhoons. This is Nick B 007 scenery, but this is the freeware version. I believe the more updated one is now payware. Which I have not got yet. Just keep moving over here. That's another taxiway there. I haven't got any multiplayer on, and I haven't got any AI on, so we're going to be absolutely fine. Nothing to worry about in terms of banging into anything. Quick look down here. T's and P's are good. Well, radiator is warming up nicely. Always got to be careful of that. Doing our S turns just so we can see where we're going, especially when we've got a camera in the way. Let's take the runway, quick check, nothing there. So at this point I'm going to give us a little bit of down trim on the elevator. The Battle of Britain Memorial flight use up trim, and I know some other pilots like to use elevator up trim as well. The manual for this Spit says, this is the FlyingIron manual, says to use down trim, and the A2A manual for the Mark II was down trim as well, and I'm kind of caught in doing that. That's my habit, so I am going to stick with that. Anyway, quick check of the trim again, and let's go. Sticky wheel there. Oops. Oh no, let's just there we go. We'll come back on the prop. There we go, and that's all good. Don't want the engine to go absolutely crazy. Right, so everything is good. Happy with that. And there's Coningsby. I'll just trim a level. Right, okay, well I'm not going to do an air display at Coningsby. I think the last thing the chaps need is me bowling in, trying to show off when they're the experts. But let's just get a feel for these controls. I had a very quick test flight, as I say, yesterday. But just want to see, how does it feel? Definitely got some really nice fine control. I'm looking down at the the boost instrument down there, and as I move the lever, see if I can, as I move the lever, I'm getting really nice fine control, and it's not jumping around. You can see the lever moving there, but that's just vibration in the cockpit. So that feels really good. Very happy with that. Can't wait to fly formation in this. As I mentioned before about the Discord, we will be doing group flights, and the first group flight will be in Warbirds, and that's going to be a really good test of it. Some kind of long distance formation flying, hopefully, if I can find someone who's patient enough to let me formate on them, and we can, you know, give it a proper test. It was a real pleasure coming up here to see the Battle of Britain Memorial flight. I've been a member for some years, but never actually made the pilgrimage, as it were. So it was quite special. I've got to say, it's lovely being back in 2020 as well. The sim is just so kind of polished now, with everything working well and the add-ons working well, that as much as the ground detail and everything in 2024 is better, this is like getting into a nice comfy pair of shoes. In fact, I got my car back from the garage yesterday after being in for a couple of days having some work done, and I'd had a courtesy car, and getting in 2020 is a little bit like when I got back into my own car. Felt really good. Isn't that amazing? Stunning. Right, let's head back into Coningsby, which is back there. This is what it's all about, flying a beautiful warbird, some great controls, so that you really feel part of it. I've got to say, having this Spitfire throttle lever here really does feel like the, well, as close as you can get to flying the real thing, I guess, bearing in mind I'm in a room at my house. And don't forget all the other controls you can get as well. I don't have the room in my setup at the moment for things like the gear lever and some of the other bits and pieces, but you can really, if you've got the space, you can build a complete cockpit. And if you go over to their Discord and check their website, you'll see what members have done. It's a really amazing community. Right, let's have the prop back, or rather the throttle back, prop fully forward. Watching the speed. So you can see the prop lever fully forward there. That is good. I was kind of expecting a change in the engine note there, but the prop lever is fully forward. We're just at the right speed now for gear, so let's dangle the Dunlops. And let's not forget get the wind blowing in our hair. Watch the speed. Now's a good time to drop the flap. I might just get my switch. There we go. So we got flaps, we got green on the undercarriage, checking our speed, trim. Watch that speed. Visibility of the runway. And we're down. Let's get the elevator in the stick in the back position. Let's now raise the flaps. There we go, down in one piece. Now we will spin us around. So a huge thank you again to Phil from AuthentiKit and also to Simulation Kit Supplies for setting me up with the bits and pieces necessary to build this wonderful quadrant and give me the opportunity to fly in the sim, and it is wonderful. Look at that. Look at that. I do love 2020, and I'm looking forward to when 2024 is all sorted out and working properly again. Let's be careful. Taxiing too fast. Have the station commander coming after us. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you an idea of what you can do with these things. If you want to see the real detail, if you want to see a proper build video, then head over to the AuthentiKit YouTube channel. It really is very good. I mean, it's extremely good. I really can't come anywhere near close to it with these kind of videos, but they are proper professional jobs. Reason why I'm still looking over the right is because my left is obscured by the camera, which is a bit of a pain. There we go. Anyway, as I say, I hope you've enjoyed the flight. It's been wonderful having you along. And I look forward to seeing you on the channel again very soon for more warbird action, or helicopters if you're into that as well. Take care now. Bye bye.